You think your muscles are flat because you aren't eating enough carbs. But the truth is, your sodium-potassium pump is completely misaligned, and it's quietly draining the fluid out of your muscle cells. You've felt this before. You're 8 weeks into a clean bulk. The scale is moving. Your lifts are climbing. Every number on the spreadsheet says you're growing. And then you catch yourself in the bathroom mirror under bad lighting, and you look, somehow, deflated. Smaller than the numbers say you should be. So you do what everyone told you to do. You add another 100 grams of carbs. You eat the rice, you eat the oats, you chase the glycogen, and you get maybe one good day out of it before you're right back to looking like a photocopy of yourself. Here's what nobody explained to you. Muscle fullness is not a carbohydrate problem. It's a transport problem. And the thing doing the transporting is a protein pump sitting in the membrane of every single one of your muscle cells, working around the clock, burning a shocking amount of your energy budget just to keep the right things inside and the wrong things outside. That pump is called the sodium-potassium ATPase. And if you've spent the last 2 years quietly afraid of salt, you have been sabotaging it the entire time. By the end of this video, you'll understand exactly what that pump does, why the fitness industry taught you to fear the one mineral that keeps it running, and what to actually do about it, starting with your next training session. Let's start with what's really happening inside a muscle cell. Think of your muscle fiber as a room with a very strict bouncer at the door. Potassium is allowed inside, sodium is not. That's not an accident, and it's not arbitrary. Your cell spends real, measurable energy enforcing that rule. The sodium-potassium pump grabs 3 sodium ions, throws them out of the cell, and drags 2 potassium ions in, over and over, millions of times, and it burns a molecule of ATP every time it does it. Depending on the tissue, that single pump can eat something in the range of 20 to 30% of a cell's resting energy. Stop and sit with that for a second. Your body is spending a quarter of a cell's idle energy budget on nothing but keeping sodium out and potassium in. Evolution does not spend that kind of money on decoration. That gradient exists because almost everything else you care about is built on top of it. And this is where it gets interesting for you as a lifter. That sodium gradient isn't just a wall, it's a battery. Your cell charges it up on purpose, and then it spins that charge to do work. When sodium wants to rush back into the cell, and it always does, because that's the direction the gradient pushes it, your cell attaches a passenger to it. Sodium comes in, and it drags something in with it. That's not a metaphor. That's a class of proteins called sodium-dependent cotransporters, and they are the doors that most of your nutrition walks through. Amino acids. A large chunk of amino acid transport into muscle is sodium-dependent. The gradient is what pulls them in. Glucose, in certain tissues, rides the same system. And creatine. This is the one that should stop you cold. The creatine transporter, the protein that actually moves creatine from your bloodstream into your muscle cell, is sodium and chloride dependent. It physically cannot work without sodium. You can take 5 grams of creatine monohydrate every single day for a year. You can buy the pure micronized stuff. You can be perfectly consistent, and if that gradient is weak, you are pouring creatine into a cell that can't fully let it in. I made an entire video about the best supplements for muscle growth, and creatine is the top of that list for a reason. But no supplement works better than the transport system it depends on. That's the kind of thing I build my entire lean bulk protocol around, and there's a link to it below if you'd rather stop guessing at this. So now flip it around and ask the question the fitness industry never asks you. What happens when you spend 2 years on a low sodium diet? You already know what you were told. Salt is the enemy. Salt makes you bloated. Salt makes you look soft and puffy and hides your abs. Cut the salt. Drink a gallon of water, sweat it out. That advice migrated straight out of bodybuilding contest prep, where guys manipulate sodium and water for a single afternoon on a stage, and it got handed to you, a natural lifter in a caloric surplus, trying to build tissue over a period of years. Those are not the same sport. That's not even the same species of goal. Here's what chronically low sodium actually does to you. Your blood volume drops. Sodium is the main osmotic driver in your extracellular fluid, and where sodium goes, water follows. Less sodium, less plasma volume, less blood getting pushed into working muscle when you train. That congested, tight, skin-splitting feeling you're chasing, the one you get maybe once every 3 weeks and can't reproduce, that feeling has a huge vascular component, and you have been slowly starving it. Then your hormones step in to fix the shortage, and that's where you really pay. When sodium runs low, aldosterone rises. Aldosterone's whole job is to claw sodium back, and it does it in the kidney by trading sodium for potassium. It holds on to sodium, and it dumps potassium into your urine. Read that again, because it's the whole video in one sentence. Chronic low sodium makes you excrete the exact mineral that lives inside your muscle cells. Potassium is the intracellular cation. Potassium is what's supposed to be in the room. And your low sodium diet, the one you adopted to look leaner, has been slowly emptying that room. That is the misalignment. That's what I meant at the start. It isn't that sodium magically inflates your muscles. It's that the entire pump, the gradient, the co-transporters, the blood volume, and the potassium reserve inside the fiber all sit on one foundation, and you spent 2 years chipping away at the foundation because a supplement company told you salt was bloat. Now let's talk about why a full cell isn't just a cosmetic win. You know about mechanical tension. You've heard about metabolic stress. There's a third idea that gets almost no airtime outside of research papers, and it's called cell swelling or cell volumization. The working theory, and I want to be honest that this is a mechanism with strong support rather than a settled law, is that a muscle cell reads its own hydration state as a signal. When a fiber is swollen, when it's stretched from the inside by the fluid it's holding, that mechanical pressure against the cell membrane and the cytoskeleton appears to act as an anabolic cue. The cell behaves like a cell that's in a good place. It leans toward building rather than breaking down. That's part of why creatine works. Creatine is an osmolyte. It pulls water into the muscle cell. That's not a side effect people should be apologizing for, and it's not fake weight. That's a chunk of the mechanism. And here's the practical consequence you actually feel under a bar. A cell that's properly volumized is a firmer, more rigid structure. It transmits force better. That's the difference between a set of 8 where the muscle feels like a solid object you're driving through the movement, and a set of 8 where it feels like you're pulling on a wet rope. Same weight, same rep count, completely different quality of tension. Fullness isn't vanity. Fullness is leverage. I just covert it all, in more detail inside my lean bulking protocol. First link in the description. Go get it now. First, and I want to be careful here, this is not a call to bury your food in salt and hope. Sodium isn't a supplement you megadose, it's a system you stop suppressing. If you have high blood pressure, kidney disease, or any condition where a doctor has specifically told you to restrict sodium, that instruction wins, full stop, and you should talk to them before changing anything. Some people are genuinely salt sensitive. You are not exempt from your own physiology just because you lift. With that said, here's the protocol. Step 1. Stop actively restricting. Most of the flatness you're fighting isn't a deficiency you need to correct with a heroic intervention. It's a restriction you need to lift. Cook with salt. Salt your food to taste. Stop buying the low sodium version of everything as a reflex. Step 2. Time it around training. This is where the fullness shows up fast, and it's the part you'll feel within a week. Roughly 30 to 60 minutes before you train, take somewhere between half a teaspoon of table salt, which lands around 1,200 milligrams of sodium, and a full teaspoon, and take it with a real volume of fluid, not sipped. Take it with something in the range of 500 to 700 milliliters of water. You're not seasoning a meal here. You're deliberately expanding plasma volume right before the moment you want blood driven into muscle tissue. If plain salt water makes you gag, and it will, put it in an electrolyte drink or take it with a carbohydrate source. Step 3. Feed the potassium side. This is the half everyone forgets, and it's the half that actually fills the cell. Sodium runs the pump. Potassium is the cargo. Potatoes, sweet potatoes, bananas, leafy greens, yogurt, beans, avocado. If you're already eating like someone who watched my video on how to lean bulk, most of this is already on your plate and you just need to stop treating potassium as an afterthought. Step 4. Stack it with the other osmolytes. Creatine taken consistently at 3 to 5 grams a day. Carbohydrates around the training window, because glycogen brings water into the cell with it, roughly 3 grams of water per gram of glycogen. Every one of these levers is pulling in the same direction, and they compound. You're not stacking 3 separate tricks. You're supporting one system from 3 angles. Step 5. Give it 2 weeks and judge it honestly. Not one workout, and not one mirror check under bad lighting at 11 at night. Same lighting, same time of day, same point in your training week. Take a photo now, take another in 14 days. Now let me tell you what this is not, because I don't want you to take the right idea and run it off a cliff. This is not water loading. This is not sodium loading followed by a cut. That's a peak week strategy. It's for people stepping on a stage on a specific Saturday, and it has nothing to do with what you're doing. Do not dehydrate yourself. Do not cut water to look drier. You are trying to build tissue over months and years, and every one of those manipulations makes your training worse on the day you do it. This also is not permission to abandon the fundamentals. You still need the surplus. If you haven't watched my video where I break down caloric surplus explained, start there, because none of this matters if you aren't giving your body the raw material to build with. Sodium doesn't build muscle. Sodium makes the machinery that builds muscle actually function. You cannot transport nutrients that you never ate. And that's the real reframe I want to leave you with. You've been treating your body like a warehouse. Get enough calories in the building, get enough protein in the building, and the muscle will show up. But a warehouse full of pallets with no forklifts is just a building full of stuff. The sodium gradient is the forklift. It's the thing that takes what you ate and physically moves it across the membrane into the cell where it can be used. And you have spent years, on the advice of people selling you the pallets, quietly unplugging the forklifts. So when you look in the mirror tonight and your arms look smaller than the tape measure says they are, don't reach for more rice. Don't add another 500 calories in a panic and undo 4 weeks of clean gaining. Look at the salt shaker you've been avoiding since 2019 and understand that the pump you've been trying to chase in the gym is the same pump you've been shutting down in the kitchen. Your muscle isn't missing, it's just empty. Now you know how to fill it. And if you want the rest of it, the full lean bulk build, not just this one lever, my lean bulk protocol is waiting in the first link below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.